Hi everyone, my name is Alex. I'm an assessor from Novalis Roofing and Siding. Today we're doing an assessment for a new roof for this customer, so why don't you come along and see what we do. So the first thing we do when we get to a home is we assess the age of the home and the architecture. And what we see here is this house is over 100 years old. We notice the windows up in the attic, the flat roof, the front porch. We look at all of these little details that might impact what's going to be happening with the roof installation. Then we're going to go up and we're going to speak to the customer, introduce ourselves, and go into the house. So we just spoke to the homeowner. The next thing we do is I take 8 photos of the entire home, document the entire property. I take pictures of all of the corners, all of the sides. We can use this information to create the pricing, edit the photos, and then we can have the info for future projects if a gutter to break off, something to that effect. Then we walk around again and we measure the house. We have an app, we take 8 photos, it creates a 3D model of your home, and you'll have that for design and anything else we might want to do in the future, like a siding project. This one with the flowers on it. If I can't get a good photo, I'm going to take photos anyway because it's going to show that there's obstructions around the house that might cause it to be difficult to set up ladders. So as we're doing the walk around, the first thing I notice is there's an addition. I can tell because the architecture has changed here, and in the soffit I see a soffit vent, which is pretty new technology compared to this house, which is over 100 years old. So this is something I would document in the photos. Walk up to the property, we don't want to hit anyone's lights swinging the big ladder, so we always think about what we're doing so we don't break people's posts, lights, railings, cars. So when I'm setting up the ladder, I always am worried about the customer's bushes, their landscaping. And the other thing we don't want to do is damage people's gutters, so if I can take 5 more seconds to do it slowly so I don't damage your gutters. So now we're up on the roof. The first thing we're going to look at is the granules on the roof. Here you can see the granules are now disappearing. Here you can actually see a hole in the granules right through the shingle, and you can see the exposed fiberglass. So whenever you see this reflective material, that's the fiberglass sheet that they make the shingles out of. So this is not a very good situation. The next thing I see here is that these are ladder marks. So someone painted or did a siding project, most likely a painter. They have now put the ladder and have left holes in the roof, all over the roof, and now this roof has been compromised. So this is what we see when painters come and ruin people's roofs. They set up on the roof and they damage the roof so badly. If you ever get a painter to come do your home after you have a Novalis roof installed, make sure they understand they can't put the ladders directly on the roof and that they should protect your roof. Because our 50-year roof, you don't want to ruin it with some painters who just don't care. So part of the roof assessment is I find things that the customer should know about. What I found here is an exposed nail. So exposed nails cause leaks. This nail has now rusted, it's changed shape. The water will now enter the void that the hole has been created by this nail. This nail, not only is it exposed and rusted, but this nail is an example of poor installation. The other roofer had misplaced this nail outside of the nailing zone. It is now what's called an exposed nail. The nail was supposed to be up under the shingle, but see, this is what happens when you hire an inferior roofer that's doing the nails as fast as they can. So another thing we look at is the hips and the ridges. Here you can see a nail is coming through the hip. It's coming through in 2 spots right here. This is where Novalis using the Dura Ridge caps. This does not happen. These are very thin and cheap, and the nails will come through them much easier. You can see how thin that is, and there's your nail. It wasn't even seated very well, so it's pretty sharp. It's now pushed through this thin material. Owens Corning Dura-Ridge are twice as thick as this, so this doesn't happen. So while we're doing the roof assessment, we really care about your gutters. As you can see, this gutter is too small for this house. It's 5 inches. Plus, it's now pulling away from the house and it's leaning forward. This has an implication to the roof. Now what you see below is this roof section is wet. It hasn't dried because of the shadow here. But what really we want to see is how all of the granules are wearing away from this roof section, because this water is not going in the leader, it's falling on this roof, it's damaging the shingles. So we would want to repair this gutter or replace it. On this house, I noticed there's vinyl screens here. They go up under the roof surface. I want to see how many layers of roofing there is, because that impacts how difficult the job is. I'm also looking for cedar shakes. If there's cedar shakes underneath this roof, we would have to redeck the whole entire roof. So we want to know all these details to give you an accurate estimate. This house has 1 layer of shingles and a starter strip. I also want to see if there's an aluminum drip edge and if they used ice and water shield.